All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Deer Gear podcast. Dorge and I have sat down this morning to talk about some Total Archery Challenge arrow setups. But before we get into that, Dorge, how you doing?
I'm doing quite okay. Well, it's getting that kind of year. I'm starting a lot of tooth and a lot of veins. So I think after the Pennsylvania show, a lot of people were seeing how I get things done. So it's pretty interesting how many people actually come to my booth and get a mini lecture.
Yeah, we get we get a lot of the follow-ups. They'll go down to your booth and they'll say,
hmm
just talk to the guy down at Firenock and he fried my brain. What
I'm
can you
not
do for
sure.
me?
Well,
So
actually, during the Pennsylvania show, I think the number one thing a lot of people do not fully understand is that what caliber of arrow should you shoot and how big is a deal is a vein. Lately for the last 2 weeks, the biggest discussion, I would say discussion or enlightenment for most of the customer is they shoot all summer or during the TAC, during the ASA IBO, and they do it with the field points and everything should fine until they go to hunting season. But right now, I think we should leave that part of the hunting season broadhead with the vein flight just before hunting season. Most people don't want to hear that now. They
sure.
want to see how the arrow fly in Total Archery Challenge or ASA IBO or NFA, which I'm going to. If you guys want to see the latest stuff, including my new flyer, I'm going to be in the Louisville, Kentucky for the NFAA Indoor Champion,
Cool.
which is next month, 15th. Yes, 15th of March.
Yeah, well, that's coming up. That's exciting. Um, a lot of 3D shoots coming up, and TAC registration is kind of happening right now. So I have seen an increased amount of people like, what's the best TAC arrow setup, or what should I be shooting for TAC? And I think that's where I want to start today because I know um, you left TAC last year with kind of a sour taste in your mouth, maybe about
Well,
kind of like the consumer behavior there, or maybe not consumer behavior, but just the archery behavior there.
yep, I think it's not a sour. It's more in a sense of disappointment because people, when they go to tag or doing any event, first of all, you need to understand. I think the mindset is where the mindset is the real issue is. What are you going there for? If you go there for a good shoot with friends and enjoy some companies and bullshit about arrow build and so on, the tech is not a bad event. If you go there and see how good you are, that changed the picture. But at the same time, just like you practice what you shoot and when you hunt, or you go there to do the tech event. Remember, tech is not ASA, it's not IBO. You don't get winning. You're going to see how good you shoot, right?
That's
That's pretty much the
basically it.
objective.
Yep.
So you're not there to win, to see how good you do. Well, if that's the case, a lot of customers pretty much bring the shittiest arrow there to shoot.
Yep.
Yes, they really do. Because they say, well, I'm going to lose arrow, I'm going to break arrows. That's where I'm sort of a little bit different in the thought of how Total Archery Challenge compared to, say, ASAIBO. Because people go there, the intention is to win.
Right.
While Total Archery Challenge, the intention is to play. But I think if your intention is just to play, then your arrow setup should still be the best you know how. But then I also see a lot of times people, unlike the ASA IBO, well, of course, with NFAA, the arrow that you shoot there is not the arrow. You should not be the arrow you hunt. In the Total Archery Challenge, it is. But then I think the biggest issue is that when people shoot Total Archery Challenge, they are not using broadheads.
Correct.
If you don't use broadheads, of course you really couldn't because you're going to ruin a lot of things. The fact is that how many people do not know that when they put a broadhead on, the arrow no longer fly the same.
It's not going
Even
to
the
be the
weight is the
same.
same.
Yeah.
Now, we talk about broadhead quite a few times about how just by putting a specific broadhead, your entire arrow won't even fly right anymore,
Right.
which is quite a big deal. You think about it.
Yeah. I mean, so I have a couple different stances on the quote unquote best arrow setup for TAC. So, um, you made a comment about when you go to TAC, you're basically testing your skills, basically seeing
Mm-hmm.
how good of a shooter you are. In my
Mm-hmm.
opinion, I am going to TAC to test my abilities with the gear that I'm going to hunt with, because, like you
Yes.
said, it's not a competition. I'm not trying to win. I'm just basically testing myself. So for people trying to build a specific arrow for tack, they want the lightest arrow, short vanes. That arrow is not going to be, you're going to use it for one event and then you're done with it. And then you go shoot your hunting arrow and all of a sudden you can't shoot worth a darn. That's because you didn't practice with that
Hmm.
setup. So I think there's the mindset of building the best arrow for tack is probably not the mindset to have.
Yes, exactly. Especially if I mean, if you want to shoot tag and using the same identical arrow for hunting, the number one requirement is that the viewpoint has to be the same profile, length, and weight distribution as your broadhead.
And there's just nothing like it.
Yeah, that's a feel. I mean, the Firenock swing blade, the OG5 Tackens, the what 3/4 inch annihilator that or the 1 inch tooth of the arrow. Those broadhead come extremely close to the field point because of profile.
Sure.
But I mean, are they exactly the same? I would say so far I have tested the 3/4 inch annihilator, which I'm not sure they still make it, and the swing blade is the only one that I know that literally fly like a field point up to 130 yards in 25 miles per hour wind. Out of the 480 feet per second crossbow, it will hit the same spot, no matter what vein I throw at it. So
That's
yes,
impressive.
if you use that two broadhead that I know of, you get the same result because they have technically the same profile, same cross section, same weight distribution as the field point.
Sure. So now that we have that kind of disclaimer out there that we don't
Yes.
necessarily think that you should build an arrow specifically for tack to get the most out of that event. A lot of people are doing that. So I want to hear, in your opinion, what would be the ultimate tack arrow?
Well, if I'm going to use tech and also use say hunting, because that's the first thing I have in mind, because that is what Total Archery Challenge is supposed to be. Say I'm going to start with I'm going to use the RX8, this year's brand new Hoyt, which I think is a pretty damn good bow, just like the lift uh from the Matthew. But I think in the Hoyt's got a slight edge to it. I would start with a Gold Tip 22 because I like the lightweightness and so on, and I would put something like the L-ring 2 on it because I'm not going to shoot over 315 in most cases. And then stick with 100 green field points on the easiest setup. That would be my setup to go to because now I'm actually the same identical arrow I can throw from hunting to tech. But if I want to do a little bit longer range killing, remember for tech, the thing is the arrow will kill. Absolutely. Is it the most efficient arrow for killing? No. I would drop the arrow down to something like a 246. And then, of course, arrow concept, the whole nine. Yeah, just like your MMT arrow. That's a great tech arrow because it's durable. You got a reasonable, good profile. I mean, you got weave on it. And yes, you can use arrow wing too. That setup would be as good as it gets. But also for some people who just keep loading the way in the front, well, I can't help you on that.
Yeah. So let me play devil's advocate here because I think you know what I'm gonna say. Tack.
No go for it.
I'm gonna shoot outside, Dorge. I don't want to be shooting those big 246 diameter or gold tip 22 diameter arrows. Shouldn't I be shooting a micro diameter shaft for shooting outside?
I will go back to one thing. What media are you shooting through? Air. What is being affected by that arrow? Air. What are you passing through? Air. So what is the actual size of what you pass through? Not from the side of the arrow, from the front of the arrow. Draw the arrow when you look at it straight from the back. The micro diameter and the 2264, the difference is technically none. Will you actually feel a difference on, say, 50 miles per hour wind? I think you will. But are you shooting in 50 miles per hour wind?
No,
I think in
no.
50 miles per hour, the biggest problem you have is not the arrow. You
Keeping your
can't hold your
bow.
post.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are we really talking? To be frank with you, in today's poll, unless you're shooting a recurve, the larger the diameter, the better. But then, of course, that's you should draw the balance. For most of the guys who shoot, say, 30-inch above, I would go with the 300 size, which is 300 ID, 2264 in every single day because it's just this is actually physically a better arrow. You'll be surprised how many 300 size arrow I sold just from last 2 weeks.
I
Because a lot of people, a
it
lot of
would
people just
surprise
didn't
me.
recognize how good it is.
Yeah, it would
And because
surprise me.
you gotta be dreaming. I mean, the best is 166. I say you put a lot of effort to make a 166 shoot good. I can't deny the 166 is more durable. As a matter of fact, the 166 and the 204 from Firenock, they're the most expensive arrow. Not because they are better, because they're more expensive to make.
Right.
They're a lot more expensive in the sense of labor to make.
Sure.
I mean, you build enough 204 and 246 for nobody can say that you don't know how to build arrows, right?
Yeah, and I don't want to touch a 166.
Well, for them customer who absolutely want it, can it be done? Yes, it's going to be a lot of effort. If you got an arrow builder who build your arrow concept in 166 and you charge you $65 to build the arrow over the material, either guy don't know what he's doing or just slap the arrows together.
You
And
got a
those
pretty good
arrows are
deal.
not something you can slap together.
Sure. Um, so and another point to that, like I talked to a guy last year at TAC that was shooting a 166, and I do get it that the point of it is not to score. Like we're not out there to score. When I shoot a 3D target, I'm shooting for kill shots. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're a guy that is going out there to score, wouldn't you want a fatter arrow to get closer to those lines?
Yes and no. I mean, yes, but then the whole idea of the tech, I mean, we go to the fundamental of the tech. Just like if you shoot a target at 65 yard without an arrow concept arrow and you shoot the 11 ring, okay, on the ASA IBO, is the animal dead at 65 yards out of a 296 feet per second arrow?
Yeah.
No, you're not, because the arrow come in at an angle. You actually miss the vital.
Hmm.
Your arrow is not going in straight.
Right.
It's just slant under the heart on the lower 11 ring. And
Sure.
then if your idea is to win, to score points, you got your points. But if you're using that as a judgment of hunting, the animal is not dead.
Yeah. I think I don't think just from people that I'm talking to and social
Mm-hmm.
media and things on YouTube, I really don't think people are going into TAC thinking about hunting. I think they're just going there to see, I want the best arrow or I want the lightest arrow so I can shoot 120 yards. And that's basically it.
Right. In some cases, you also need to think, no, let's step back. You need to go in with a mindset first, because without that mindset confirmed, it'll be a total different discussion. You need to go there with a higher score card, or you go there to confirm your ability to kill. Those are two different things. Because at the end of the day, you have a scorecard for yourself to know how good you do.
And
You're not trying to win.
add a third
Right.
distance, an arrow that I can get enough distance. Because um, some of those courses, the closest shot's 40 yards.
Yes.
So if you're shooting a 650 grain arrow,
You're
you're
not going
gonna
to make it.
yeah, you're gonna be pretty screwed. So a lot of people are trying to build an arrow to get the max amount of distance out of their setup.
Well, actually, let me give you a point of physics, okay? If you got a long enough sight tape, you got a long, I mean, just like when Trophy Ticker was making the 11, make a 9-pin oblong Trophy Ticker top pin, which I got one of those. I think I got ended up with 7 pins in it. You can shoot 130 yard with a 600 grain arrow, because I've done that. Because you need that many.
You had
Because
clearance
I mean,
that far?
yeah, because the thing is like this shape.
Hmm,
Because a round one with 4 pins, it ain't gonna touch it. If you
right.
do 120 yard, you'll be below the sight
Yeah.
if you shoot a round sight, which I think is a great idea, because even Trophy Taker, I think it's Dan Ryan, that's what his name is, from used to be the old Trophy Taker that sold to it. They are not, they are called, they're a different company now. They sold that Trophy Taker to some company, I don't remember which one. I think to Arcus out of Georgia, which
Hmm.
used to own Obsession. I think that's
Obsession.
what they bought.
Yep. Yep.
Yes. So you need to really think about what you can do with the arrow. If you are saying, I'm not going to change my sight, and you want to shoot 120 yards, then you need a flatter trajectory.
Correct.
A flatter trajectory can accomplish by two ways. One, you got a faster bow to lower the trajectory of your arrow, or you get a more efficient arrow that allow you to shoot the same speed with a smaller pin gap.
Right.
See, that's two totally different way. Just give you an idea with the any arrow concept build, the average that you're going to see a 6 to 12 inch higher with the same 8 arrow out of the same speed bow at 60 yards. That means in order to get that, you're going to have to find yourself an extra 20 to 30 feet per second to match what an arrow concept arrow will do. I think a
Good
lot of
luck.
people miss that
Yeah. Good luck
because a
finding
lot of
that.
people doubt me. I mean, I remember when uh, I forgot his name. Whatever Black, I remember he was one of the used to be one of the shooters for bowling. And he say, "What good is the arrow wing?" I say, "How about arrow wing and arrow concept together?" And you can see the impact point. And he doubted me. 2 weeks later, he bought everything. He bought the arrow wing jig. He bought arrow wing jig first, then he bought a PAPS, and I say the rest is history.
Would you
The funny thing
say
is, mhm.
would you say that Arrow Vein 2 would be the best vein choice for attack arrow?
I would say absolutely. A lot of people tell me arrow wing 3 is better. I say arrow wing 3 is not better because you're shooting TAC. The reason the arrow wing 3 is not the best, but is the best for ASA and IBO, is that the idea of the tech is that you're eventually going to use the arrow with broadheads. Arrow wing 2 so would do much better. And arrow wing, most people are not shoot over 300 feet per second in TAC.
Right.
Now, arrow wing 3 will have a slight benefit if you move to, say, 315 or more. Then you see the benefit of arrow wing 3. As a matter of fact, arrow wing 3, if you shoot under 270 feet per second, the arrow wing 3 arrow hit lower than arrow wing 3, arrow wing 2,
Hmm.
which is surprising because
Yeah.
arrow wing 3 is 5 grains lighter compared to arrow wing 2 in the 3 wing configuration. Arrow wing 3 would do about 15, and arrow wing 2 would do about 20.
Another
Yes, the
reason
arrow wing 3. Mhm.
another reason I think would be because of the angles that you're shooting at, your form is probably not going to be on point, and Arrow Vein 3 is going to show that off more than Arrow Vein 2 would.
Well, arrow wing 3 corrected, but the issue is speed. If you don't have enough speed, arrow wing 3 at low speed have more drag than arrow wing 2 because of winglet.
Yeah.
But the moment you sustain a higher speed arrow wing's winglet, now it's kicking with high benefits. That means if you fly a Cessna, you don't want winglets. If you
No,
fly a
right.
jet, you want winglets.
Yeah.
That's the reason you notice no small plane have winglets on it. Only jets do, because they never reach high enough speed.
Yeah. Okay, so what if I told you, yeah, that all sounds good, but I don't want to shoot that expensive of an arrow attack because I'm gonna lose them or I'm gonna break them.
Well, that's pretty much you don't want to you should not buy expensive arrows because you're going to lose them, you're going to break them. The bottom line is that if you want to do anything serious, get the best you could, or you simply go the other way. If your idea is just go there, have fun, and see what you can do with junk arrows, the Walmart discount pile is one of the best places to look.
Yeah.
Is that wrong? No, I got customer. I know that that's the only thing they shoot. They want to put all their money in the bow and sight and whatever, but they didn't put a dime in the arrow. Do they kill deer? Sure, they kill deer. Is it the way I would do it? No, but I'm not going to tell them. I mean, just like I remember times of my racing days, I got guys who want to all buy used tires to go racing. The only downside is never won. They are going to have fun.
Yeah.
But that's where the different concept is. Are you go there to win? Are they going to see how good you can do? Or you are going there to have fun only? You're going to have fun, do whatever you want. I mean, if you think it's too much money and that's not how the fun is, it's your choice. And nobody can say you're wrong. But if they would say, I'm going to go fun and then string a few arrows and see how I can shoot, but I don't care what I do, that will be my hunting arrow. Well, if that's your mindset, that's what you should do. Because literally, if you go to attack, you're going to lose arrow, you're going to break arrow because your equipment is not up to par. When you do that 120-yard shot, which it do happen, you're going to lose the arrow. But then, do you intend to hit it? How bad you want to hit that target and accurately? I'll guarantee you, if you just use junk arrow, the chance of that happening is like a Hail Mary shot. Can it happen? Absolutely. Can you confidently say, I'm going to hit that and I intend to hit that and I will hit that? That's where expensive purposely built arrow is going to make all the difference in the world. Then you start talking about arrow concept, talking about veins, and how about jigs balancing in front of center. I mean, how good the knot is, how good the string is, how good the surfing is. You start worrying about everything.
Yeah.
But if you are just going to sling arrows, well, if you don't care about those, then none of them is important.
Um, do you know the guy that won? um, he's is a two-time truck winner.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know him?
No, I do not.
Well, he has a titanium kit in his bow. He's shooting like I mean, he is set up to win the truck. And to do that,
Mm-hmm.
he has a really expensive and fine-tuned arrow setup and bow. So if you're going in, so the truck event, if people aren't familiar with TAC, one of the big draws is you shoot a target that's last year it was like 112 yards, and you have to shoot inside out the 10 ring, and
Mm-hmm.
you hit that, you get entered to win a truck. It's like a $60,000 truck. So
Mm-hmm.
if you were to build an arrow to be able to shoot that target to win the truck, wouldn't you
Mm-hmm.
be willing to spend a little bit more money on the arrow build with the chances of winning a $60,000 truck?
Okay, before we say spending money, I want to be 100% absolutely critical. It is not just money. You can't buy success. You need to able to have good equipment. You need to know your equipment, and you need to understand what the equipment can do. I mean, if you want to buy the most expensive from Firenock, it will be the $1,400 the dozen Africa big game arrow. Would that win the truck? Absolutely not, because
Right.
the arrow would drop so fast. It's not going to be funny.
Yeah.
You want to do a super purpose built arrow? I would say uh the 246 with the arrow concept with arrow wing 3 and make sure your arrow shoot over 315. That's what you're going to do that job.
Yep.
So it's not the arrow. So if you got a short draw of say 26-inch, even the 80-pound bow is not going to do that. That event you're in a disadvantage. You want a guy that's like Chad.
Yeah.
Make sure you got a 31-inch draw, 300 spine, arrow concept 2.0, arrow wing 3, and then you practice. Now the truck is within reach.
Yeah. I don't
Can you
think
somebody like a 26-inch, 50 pounds win that event? Yeah, people put loops into Big Ten games. It happens,
sure.
but how often would it happen?
Yeah, not that
Remember, they
often.
put insurance on it. But if you are the guy want to win it over and over again, just like one of my very good friend Randy Hendricks, who win Buckmaster 3 times, his arrow 246
Yeah. I think
for a reason.
I mean, I'm gonna shoot tack. I'm gonna shoot tack this year. We're not gonna exhibit there, but I'm gonna shoot it. And I'm gonna shoot an MMT 350. I mean, I'm
That's
not gonna
actually a
shoot
very good. Actually, 350. What's your Jordan?
27 and a half.
Oh yeah, that's right. 350 would do a very good job. They'll
Yeah,
give you the best of both. You got enough speed to fly, and I mean, I always have to think through the combination because see, people keep on thinking one number. No, it's all of them combined. That's your
right.
number.
Yeah. Um, if I wanted to go into like building an arrow to get the max distance, I probably would build an NIS because it's a lighter GPI. So
Yes, that's correct.
if I needed a little bit more, I'd probably shoot an NIS 350 with Aerovane 2, aluminum insert, and heck, if you really wanted to go for distance, shoot a 75 or an 85 grain field point.
Yep, if your bow is tuned well, that's one of the things. That right now you didn't today. I would say since the Hoyt and Matthew is one of the top bows, make sure you absolutely perfectly tune that bow and make sure the arrow is perfectly leveled right through your loop. You'll be getting really good performance on both bows. I just finished a customer who sent me an RX-8. I was quite impressed with the improved design of the Hoyt. I was not thrilled on it. An RX-3 comes out. The RX-7 shows that they did change. RX-6 are really good.
So if you had an RX-7, would it be worth an upgrade to RX-8?
The close. The RX-8 do have some advantage to it. The RX-8 actually have 6 more screws compared to RX-7.
Hmm.
Just think about RX-3 has 16 screws. The RX-8 have 36.
Holy crap.
It's 20 more screws on the bow.
Wow. I um did you
No,
say
I
that
would say no, 36 or 35, but 35 because there's a RX-8, the RX-8 carbon have one less screw.
did you say previously that the RX-7s were having some issues with the axles?
Yes, no, I believe that is. I think somebody resolved it. I don't think they resolved with titanium. I think they resolved it with hardened steel.
I bent my axle, my RX-7 bottom cam axle. I bent it.
That's not unusual.
I was surprised, but I thought back
Well,
to
I think you
when
can
I
call
told.
Hoyt. They will send you new axle. I mean, to be fair with you, you notice every single major boat company have moved away from the 316 to quarter for a reason. As a matter of fact, I personally own the patent to a bow they have an axle that's over 10 millimeters, which is 10 millimeters is the close to just under, if there will be in inches. That'll be something like 5/16 to 11/64 of an inch. But to be fair with you, the larger the axle, the better the loop strength. Again, the tube dynamics again, the more stable the cam is. But then in the case of the design of a Hoyt, that's going to be rough, but it can be done.
Yeah.
But a lot of people didn't go that route, and of course, if they did go that route, they need a license from me because I own that patent, which I think a lot of people will refuse to do that, knowing that I own it.
Probably.
Well, it happens. I know how
Yeah,
that goes.
that's all right. Um, sorry, I got off a little bit there because I have been messing with my bow a lot recently. I've been getting some lessons, some form
Mm-hmm.
lessons.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh, that's good.
yeah, yeah, I've been learning a lot. I guess I didn't really realize how bad my form was, but
Well,
it,
you'll be surprised until somebody, just like when Rodway and Jim Burns were both share with me, you say the number one thing, take a small video of yourself, and then somebody besides you look at it. And sometimes the easiest thing, take a video and look at it yourself. You won't believe how bad you are.
yeah, once you know what it's supposed to look like, because I guess I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really know what it was supposed to look like, and my hips are all out of whack, and my back shoulder's too high. Um, I have a lot of things to work on, but I have been trying to fine tune that because, frankly, before I can shoot better, none of this arrow stuff is going to make me any better because I'm not good enough to benefit from it.
Well, actually, now ask yourself this question. You're standing on the ground doing all this, just like you do in the tech, and you're shooting reasonably okay. What happened to you sitting on the saddle?
Yeah, a lot of stuff
Mm-hmm.
changes.
Mm-hmm. And do you know you changed when you're on the saddle?
No, you don't.
Mm-hmm. I always ask people, you practice all day long. I would say the only way that you're really going to practice is that find a nice tree or find a pole and then hang yourself and then practice. That's the only way.
Yep. Um, yeah, so I I've just been thinking about that. Back to the total archery challenge thing. Um, last year, John Dudley left all like after the final total archery challenge event, John Dudley left and he had a sour mood. And he said that this year was probably the most disappointing year that he's ever seen as far as like physical arrow flight goes.
Mm-hmm.
When people are trying to shoot long distance arrows and he's watching the arrow flight and the arrow flight's all out of whack and they go pull their arrow out of the target and what do you know, there's a 200 grain field point on the end of the arrow. So I think something to focus on if you are going to total archery challenge and wanting to build an arrow is don't sacrifice arrow flight regardless of what you're trying to do. Like to hit a certain goal weight or to do something, don't sacrifice the arrow flight because that's going to be the number one key.
Well, actually, as I said in so many things, it's just like, oh, I got a customer with a 34-inch draw. Have to shoot a full 32-inch length with 75 pounds.
Holy crap.
Yeah. And he then pretty much asked me, "What do I do? What do I do?" I say, "I know I can't change you. You are what 6'4", but 6'6". You got a 34-inch draw to start with, and you have to shoot 75 pounds. Can you say lower your pound to 65 now? Say I like the 75 pounds behavior. I say, "Are you sure you like the behavior of the 75 pound?" He's currently shooting the Black Eagle 200 spine.
200 spine.
Yes. And his arrow flight was great. He do all the points. He shoot 60 yard in a pie plate, no problem. And he bought big broadhead, solid. And he say he can't hope to shoot anything under 40 yards on the plate. I say, yes, that should be. Why would you expect anything different? And he told me he did not do well in total. I think he told me he didn't do well in total archery challenge.
With his setup,
But he do
he
I mean,
should.
no, he did well in total archery challenge, but he didn't do well hunting. That's what he told me.
Sure.
I mean, actually, there's more than one guy who tell me the same thing. I do good in tag, but when I go hunting, I put a brother on it and nothing works.
Yeah.
That's exactly what my point is.
Yeah. What so what are some of the reasons that would be the case? The bow's not tuned, the arrow's not
Mm,
spined correctly, the vanes aren't right. What would be the
well,
issue?
actually, I will rehash one phenomenon. Okay, how many? What are the five basic motion of an arrow in flight? And people say, "What do you mean by that?" I say, "Yes, give me the five basic arrow movement in flight." I will just go through that. The first, parabolic action. Now, remember, when I say basic, I'm talking arrow that's 30-inch long, coming out on the 70-pound bow, because right on the get-go, if you got a 32-inch arrow out of a 75-pound bow, it's not one parabolic action, it's three. The arrow actually go like this. There's three hums on it, not one.
Right.
So that's the reason the arrow do not just swing back and forward, it snicks, actually. And people say the arrow doesn't snick. I say, when you start increasing your poundage, you need to look at what the Korean high-speed video always come out. The arrow come out compressed like a spring with more than one hum. It's two or three hums. The longer the arrow, the more hums you got.
Right.
The first, that's called a parabolic action. The second, the arrow, the flexes when doing the flex, arrow go between the hums. You got the ovalization of the arrow because as it flexes, the middle of the flex, the arrow change from a circle to oval. The thinner the arrow, the less effect of that oval, which means the arrow fight the entire flex, and you can't stall it and relax it, so the engine was lost. The third is that the oscillation vibration of the shaft. The shaft would do a small oscillation, external internally. In other words, the shaft diameter will microly change. Then your entire shaft front to back with torsion. It flexes front to back in torquing. And finally, which is the fun that any high-speed boat is going to get. Remember, this do not happen in recurve. It only happen in high-speed, high let-off compound. It's the resonance. Those are your five motions of an arrow. So theoretically, there's minimum four, and the fifth happened when you use high let-off compound with high
Okay.
speed. Now, when you shoot TAC, all five applies, unless you shoot a recurve. And of course, under that condition, the larger the diameter, the less of those, the more efficient the arrow flight. Can you overcome it? Yes, you can overcome it by using arrow concept. It's not a if, it's an absolute guaranteed. I mean, if they have doubt, you can just find an arrow that weight the same as your MMT, which is one of the arrow concept, which I think a lot of people got. Find an arrow just the same identical weight. Shoot it. See the impact point. At 60 yards, I'll guarantee between 6 to 12 inches. If not, some cases with the good bill, with the right veins, it can even be more ridiculous.
It is pretty it's like mind blowing when you see it happen.
Well, actually, it does. I mean, just like the gentleman who win the truck, he got everything decked out. But then, just like my discussion with another customer was talking about, he is trying to become a Firenock dealer because he's just like me, retired. He want to build arrows for the fun of it. I say, in archery, when you do something with the say 10% improvement each part, when you do all three, it is not 30%. Because in most cases, the performance overlapped. Just like
Right.
I want to do arrow concept. I do titanium, I do string mob. There are three things. Assume each of them will give you 10% improvement by itself. It do not. Because see, the arrow concept and the titanium both was addressing similar effect, and they overlap about 3 to 7%. So if you do the titanium kit with the arrow concept arrow, you don't see a 20% improvement, assuming each of them is 10. You
Right.
got more like a 13% improvement.
Right.
But then if the setup is extreme, I mean, like the case of aero bump, if you're using, say, an 80-pound Bose 166 super heavy FOC, do you see the effect of the aero bump? Yeah, very little, because you're already on the extreme end. There's nothing. Just like you put the best suspension, but your suspension needs, say, 1 inch. The moment you drive, you bottom it out already. What good is it?
Right.
And it happens a lot. I mean, anytime when you go extreme on either end is never good. The truth is somewhere in the optimization for you. And people, I mean, just like, can you imagine a guy like Tim Gillingham teaching guy like my good buddy Paul who just walked away how to shoot using what he learned? Well, Tim is 6'4". Paul is barely 5. Well, he don't have that 32 draw to start with. You're lucky to get 26, 27 out of it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the same.
Nope.
That's not enough power stroke. I mean, just like when a gentleman asked me, Dorge, we need a 550 feet per second crossbow. we need 350-pound limbs. I said, no, give yourself a 26, 27-inch power stroke. You got that 550 in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
Yes, in the crossbow, 180-pound with a 27-inch power stroke, you get 550 out of it.
that's
You don't need
bananas.
that 350-pound limbs. In the case of Excalibur, in the case of a Raven, yes, they do. They don't. They're like what 11-inch power strokes. That ain't gonna cut it.
Yeah, that's kind of that the crossbow world. Every time I think about it, just I can't comprehend.
Well, actually, in some way, I mean, in a lot of country, crossbow is considered illegal. I mean, a lot of my suppliers from the Asia, remember Asia include Russia, they have tons of crossbows, and they use it every freaking day, weekends on pigs.
Pigs.
Yes, I mean, what's better than a roast pig with vodka on weekends and salad? Can you think of better stuff than that?
I don't know. For me, probably a ribeye.
Well, that's true, but you know, like my one of my dealers in Hawaii, he's one of the top chef in wild game cooking. I mean, they got about 12 of them every day. When they finish work, go and shoot a pig or two. If you don't get one of your buddies going to get one. Then you do a luau, do some wine. Then you make yourself vegetable from the garden over the weekend. Sit down with your friends, talk about bullshit, how you kill stuff. That's not a bad way to spend a weekend.
That sounds like a pretty good time to me.
Yeah, I just say you say you become the famous wild game coach. So yeah, I have done a practice. Yeah, he run actually he's a chef of a major hotel out of Maui,
Really? Who?
and he
What's his
own
name?
archery shop. That will be Noel.
Oh wow.
Actually, I got his name. Give me a second. I mean, if you go to Hawaii on one of the chief hotel, he's one of the top chef there,
My mom's
and
going to Hawaii this spring. I'll send her there.
yeah, he own SBP Archery. He's out of Kihei, Hawaii.
Okay. Interesting.
His name is Noah Badillo Badillo. So he's one of my dealers since 2016.
That's cool. Um, all right, so I'm gonna wrap up the tack talk with the arrow that I'm gonna go into that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna tell everyone my specs and the my effective
What bow you're going
range.
to use? Are you using an RX-7 or using your old Hoyt? What are you using?
RX-7. I'm gonna shoot
Mm-hmm.
27 and a half inch draw, 70
Mm-hmm.
pounds.
Mm-hmm.
MMT 350.
Mm-hmm.
The total arrow length is like 26 and 3/4. It's
Nice.
a little bit shorter. Um,
No, you should 27. That's actually a very optimum length.
yeah. Um, and I think the total weight with a 100 grain field point is like 410.
That's very, very good. Actually, that's a very good setup. If I would do anything, I would drop 15 grains hit. I will go with the 85 grain point.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try that.
But see, 80
Um,
grain point is a little bit edgy, but you're gonna love the pin gap and how the arrow behaves.
with Aerovane too. I'm shooting
Yes,
Aerovane too.
arrowing too.
Yeah.
Yes.
My with the 100 grain head, my distance is like 108 yards. I can go all the way to 108 with one pin. Um, so I
I
have to
mean,
use
with the dial, you mean?
right.
Right.
So I do have two pins on that. So with the second pin, I can shoot like 130.
Whoa, that's a nice setup. I mean, that technically is a true tech setup. Good job, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I'm gonna shoot tack with. And I'm only doing that to um just to go into tack with like trying to a mindset that I'm trying to win. And then
Good.
when I go
Win the truck, you
into
mean?
no, just like whoever I'm shooting with, I want to beat them. I don't
Okay,
want
that's a good mindset.
I'll
Because if you want to
probably
win the
try to
truck, then yeah, I would call Jeremy up. Jeremy, I need Aero Concept 2.0.
Oh yeah. I do want to shoot an Aero Concept 2.0 build just to see the difference
You figure that your arrow will be with that Aero Concept 2.0 build, you're adding about 30 grains to the arrow. Then
because
I
of
will go with the 70,
the
the
shaft.
carbon tubing on the back. Then I would, as a matter of fact, at that moment, I may even drop the arrow, the point weight from 85 to 75. Yes, I significantly lower your FOC. But then I may even move into arrowing 3 altogether. Because
Because of
now
the
you
I'll
get
get the
perfect,
speed.
you know, you got a speed and you got a further gyroscopic reaction because the arrow tail don't flap anymore with arrow concept 2.0. Now you can use arrow wing 3 to its fullest potential.
That'd be wicked.
It is very, very good. As a matter of fact, that is a similar arrow instead of using the I'm using the carbon tech. Jerry was using the carbon tech sheet of 3555 stuff to build it for the gentleman, whichever 45 pound, 26-inch draw with the Ramcat SBG that blows through the elk at 68 yards with a 43-pound full final. I think that's what he did.
And that
You can't
carbon
build it
tech
out of
cheetah
the
is a super light arrow.
yes, they are. They're good.
Yeah.
Rick McKinney know what he's doing. That I mean, if you want a lightweight arrow, if you really want a lightweight perfect arrow, the carbon cheetah is what I would go with. Are they durable? Not really. But hey, have you ever used a Carbon Express Blue Streak Select? Mm-hmm. That's what I mean. You breathe on it, it breaks.
That's the I think probably the most popular arrow at TAC last year was like the Victory Rip XV.
Yes, because it's like
Super lightweight.
the HV and XV, they are all because remember they are similar build. They are like the ultralights.
Yeah.
In other words, they're running a 32 milli module carbon, and the layer is very, very tight and very, very thin, which gives you the lightweight. But that's where aero concept really come into help because those arrow reflects, and reacts so fast. You need something to calm it, but at the same time, that reaction in flight is so good. Just like the arrow flies so good in air, but it's not great in launch.
Okay. So arrow concept is like the answer.
Correct. It's not because I invented aero concept on the patent to it. It really have that kind of benefit. Just think about it. If it can calm a crossbow like Raven, what more do I need to say?
Right.
I mean, think about it. I'm shooting 500 feet per second with aero concept. And yes, people tell you, well, you go through an animal and you break the arrows. Well, 500 feet per second is taking a tree stand, passing through a pig, hitting rocks. Yeah, it's gonna, but passing through deer and break. A customer called me, say, Dodge, arrow bolt combination with the metal knocks is not very durable. I said, can you send me pictures? Every one of them. Imagine the deer walking the side of the hill. The arrow go through a deer, hit the rock, exploded. You're shooting 500 feet per second at a deer. What do you expect it to happen?
Yeah. And at that point, like it already did its job. The arrow already did its job.
Yeah, he was telling me that I need to make the arrow more durable. I say, how about you lower your speed?
Yeah. And I'm of the camp that if I shoot an arrow through an animal, like that arrow is retired. I'm not gonna risk shooting it again.
Well, I don't disagree with that, but in the crossbow world, remember, most people buy 3 arrows
Yeah, but
at a
they're all,
time.
I mean, they're buying a $4,000 freaking bow. Like what's a $30 arrow?
No, a Raven 500 feet per second arrow, when you fully decked it out, is $240 for 3, $80 an arrow.
That's a lot. That is a lot.
Yes. Most people haven't add all the numbers together.
Oh, jeez.
The broadhead, Firenock, shaft.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
No, actually, you think about it. In most cases, if you got 3 arrows, I mean, I shoot my sculpted death stalker since 2015. After the last 8 years, only replaced 1 arrow.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I still have one unshot.
So you will reuse those?
Of course, why not? I mean, you inspect it. I mean, that's the reason. Remember, the label always say, "Flex before we shoot." Anytime you shoot an animal, hold the arrow up, flex the entire arrow shaft.
But you'll replace the knock every time.
Of course, every time. Take the broadhead out, take the field point out, inspect that, put it back in, spin it. I mean, just like if you look at how Tim Gillingham do his shoot, every time about 2 or 3 shots, you get this arrow back, take the pin knock off, hold his arrow on his pinky fingers, and then spin. On his second finger, spin the arrow to make sure that the pin knock is indeed true. Then you put a brand new knock on it and shoot.
Yeah.
That's every 3 targets.
That's crazy.
How many knock you go through?
A lot.
How come you just don't reuse it? Because you know you can trust it.
Yeah, when you
Because if he's not good, you lose that one. Say you go from a 10 ring to a 11 to a 10. Well, that's your title right there.
yeah, you lost a lot of money right there.
Right. So how much is the knock compared to not winning? I mean, remember, when you win, it's not just the win, it's the winning. If you say sponsored by Matthew or whatever, that's a bigger check there than your winning amount.
Right. Um I have a question on the knock. This is
Okay.
just random. But the 204 A knock, the
Mm-hmm.
Firenock A knock, is by far the best 204 knock available. By far.
Mm-hmm.
For a few different reasons. And the biggest advantage is the length of the total knock, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So why haven't you made a 246 knock with a smaller profile, shorter profile?
I've been thinking about that for many, many, many years because see, when I first designed the 246, I was basing it on the gold tip, the cross section between the gold tip and the Carbon Express. That's what I was based on. When I designed the ANAC, because I saw how the original Eastern full metal jacket knot exploded, and I put on my engineer hat. I say, if that's what I want, what do? I make the knot that's closest to the shaft with the minimum. Now, assuming that I'm going to make the 204 knot the same as the A knot, which I have it in the works, I actually already designed it.
Hmm.
The problem is that if I do that, all the all the tools has to be changed.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay,
That's a lot.
and yeah, that means I have to go from that point all the way down. That means all the aero concept tools have to be changed for that. The worst part is that because I figured I will use the same tool as the XF, so I wanted one tools because the XF is 47 millimeter compared to 44.5 millimeters. So, or I can design the end cap to use the old tool to make it longer so I can sunk the aero deeper in it. And not to mention, as the bow speed keep on increasing, the design of the A knock on the S knock make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for the S knock to pretty much be done because a lot of colors is pretty much end of the lot pile.
Oh, okay.
So and besides you guys, not many people use S right now. A is my largest seller,
Oh, it's a great
even
knock.
more than the 166. The 204 is, I mean, people find out that it was right there in the middle. It's not as small as 166, so it's easy to deal with. It's more durable than 246. But you know what? As I say, this year, the 2024, I sold the most amount of arrow shot besides my air crossbows is my 300 size, 350 and a 300.
Really?
Yes.
Probably because that's what you push the most, though.
Well, I don't sell arrows. I mean, those are what my customer do. I mean, they buy them on my website and build it themselves. So most of them will build the 246 to start with. Some of them are brave enough to buy the 166 and build it. I mean, just like I just got another certified and trick dealer for the test yesterday out of Racing, Wisconsin. I asked him what arrow is the best. He said, I built everything you got. I built the stalker with the 166. I built the 300. But you know, when I go and shoot all my competition local, guess what he show me? The arrow
300.
with 300, 350 out of his RX-7.
Wow.
I said, did you use that for hunting? Out of your 246 or 166? Said, yeah, I used that for hunting. It's flatter. I said, well, how do you like this flatter? He said, yes, it's actually flatter. So why wouldn't you use it for tag?
Yeah,
But
right.
then,
That would be the best. That would be the best trajectory. It would give you the best the best arrow to hug the
recovery,
line.
yes, everything.
Yeah, I
Right,
mean, it would be the best.
right. And actually, if you say, ask me, what will, if my shoulder is not ruined and I'm going to pull my old Expedition Central SD, I'm going to shoot tag. What arrow would I use? The arrow with 300, 350, with arrow wing 3,
Now,
and then with a 45 grain point.
45 grand.
Yes, my titanium, because it's 9 millimeter.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, now how much?
Naturally, that is the setup I use for everybody who do ASA and IBO. And if I do NFA, I will put the same arrow. I put 125 grain point. I'm doing NFA, same shaft.
What's
If
the
I want to kill
distance?
animal, yeah,
What's the
same
distance?
identical shaft. Hmm?
What's the distance of those shoots? The max distance?
NFA, 20 yards.
20.
That's because I put 125 grain or 150 if I want to slow the arrow down.
What about so just devil's advocate, how much um clearance would you lose shooting a 300 diameter shaft to like a 204 diameter shaft before I'm going
What
to run in
clearance?
before I'm going to run into my sight? My arrow's going to hit my sight because the arrow
Nope,
profile is larger.
nope, it won't. I mean, if you have worry about that, then you need an arrow change about yourself. It's not going to, just no clearance issue whatsoever.
I'm talking about distance. Like if I could shoot just for like comparison's sake, if I'm shooting a 204 that weighs
Mhm,
400 grains, my max
mhm.
distance on that is 110 yards. If I
Right,
have that same weight shaft, but it's in a 300 diameter shaft, it's going to hit my sight sooner.
correct. I would say it will easily do 140 based on the 115 you got. You add 15 to 20% to it.
But I'm going to hit my sight sooner because the arrow is larger. I'm going to run out of
No,
clearance sooner.
no, you don't, because
It has to.
you can bottom.
If I run into my sight housing with the 204 and then I put
How do
the
you run your side housing with a 204? I don't
you,
understand how.
you roll the dial down to my max
Right, all the
distance.
way down.
So
Yes.
that's my max clearance. I can't put that any further down because my arrow is going to hit the sight.
Okay, something's wrong because it never happened
Well, it's
for
going
me.
to eventually. It's always going
Oh,
to.
oh, okay. It only if your axle to axle is really short. Yeah, on the lift 29, yes. On the lift 30 or anything over 30-inch axle to axle, I don't see it happening.
Well, there's always going to be a max distance that you can shoot. There's going to be a max clearance. You're never going to have clearance out to 200 yards.
No, of course, Scott. I'm talking, say, right now, based on your current size. Yes. Remember, you told me for a 204 to 300, your pin gap is going to be narrower,
Yeah,
not wider.
right. But I'm going to, I'm not going to be able to dial my sight down as far because the arrow shaft is thicker.
Yeah, but your starting point is the same.
Right.
So you don't need to be that low because you will never be that low because that was the lowest. And then as you move it higher and higher and higher, let me see. You move the bow and you move it lower and lower and lower, not higher.
Right. So
I think somewhere along the line,
if I'm moving it down, right?
right?
And it's
That means
all
you're shooting longer and further and further and further. And the
correct.
300 is going to be flatter, so you're going to move less.
Yeah. So
So you feel,
is there going to be a point where like I'm not going to be able to move my housing down as far
okay,
because
if
the
you can move
arrows.
the 244 and then the 300, the difference is less than, if you shoot the same thing, the distance is less than 3 millimeters. You
So
won't see a difference.
you wouldn't lose much.
3 millimeters. 3 millimeter is actually about 1/8 of an inch.
Yeah. So it's minuscule.
Yeah. Can you look at your sight, look at your pin and your vane, especially if you shoot a QAD, your vane is up.
Right.
Well, if you move to arrow vane 3, you already get the 3 millimeters already.
There it is. Yeah. That's something that people always say. They're like, well, I need a smaller diameter shaft so I can have more clearance. Well, to your
No,
point, to
actually, in most cases, you don't need more clearance. I think what you need is a better setup. Because see, I have never seen, because remember the days when I designed eyeball sight, the where I'm looking through my phone or the lens to the bottom of my phone where the button is still clear the freaking arrows.
yeah.
Talking a whole iPhone 4 or an iPhone 4S. There is from this point where the lens is all the way to the button. You have this distance.
It's a lot of room.
The, yes. And the reason that at the moment when iPhone 5 comes out, the distance is now significant. And now I have problems.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I stopped building eyeball sight because the iPhone have after iPhone 5, it start having more lens. And I can't do that anymore because I can't force the iOS to choose one specific lens and design a caliper lens for it to. You see, the problem is that when you look at iPhone, okay, the image inside the iPhone is 16 times bigger. So I need to put a telephoto lens on it that enlarge it is 16 times to make it look the same on your phone as you look through the site. People don't know what kind of hell I went through to design stuff like this.
Yeah. That that sounds not like that sounds like a not fun event to tackle.
No, I was so at the very moment I was working with Vortex, I was ready to redesign. I ready to say, okay, the lens cannot be that difficult. Let's all geometry. I'll sit there and design one. No, it's a lot more complicated. I'm not good with coding, reflection, and so on. I'm thinking limitations.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Well,
Optics is not.
um I think I think we covered what I wanted to cover. I think people going into TAC, the number one thing that George and I both agree on is if you have to agree on why you're going there and what your goal is
Mm-hmm.
for the event. In my personal opinion, um, as a bow hunter, I want to go and shoot what I'm going to hunt with because I want to make sure that I am as good as I can possibly be when it comes to the moment of truth of taking a life, shooting an animal. Um,
Absolutely agree. But remember one thing: when people say I'm going to hunt, if you remember a text 3D target, how many of those animals you actually hunt, and how many of them you actually take the distance?
yeah, like one.
So right. So at the same time, how many people when they hunt, say whitetail, the western whitetail hunt and the Midwest whitetail hunt and the southern like Louisiana, North Carolina whitetail hunt, totally different.
Oh yeah.
They all need optimization. I
Yeah.
mean, I will close the thing with the one very simple fact. I got a customer, there's 12 of them. They all have Raven 29X and R 500. They all shoot 400 grain factory arrow with rage broadhead. They shoot 18 animals and they lost 12 of them before they called me. Do you know why? They're shooting so fast at a deer so small in North Carolina. You can poke through them with a chopstick and you're shooting 500 feet per second rage at them. The broadhead never opened,
Ah,
ever.
yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem.
Yep. The arrow is so fast that the arrow goes through the animal. It's like the first time I ever shoot at a deer, I got my Oneida X80 with the with the 80-pound draw with a 398 grain arrow. That's with the 6-inch overdraw
Oh, snap.
with a 2-inch cut broadhead, expendable. I shot through that cut, go there. I got a smooth speck of blood. Found the broadhead. The rubber band still on it.
Yep.
That was a fawn, but that was my first deer I ever shot at.
That's not a good
Trust
experience.
me. No, it was not. Well, that will be 1991.
I wasn't even born yet, Dorge.
Sorry, that tell you how bad those equipment, how bad I was. I got the Beeman what Beeman not the Hunter the Beeman Flash, yes, with the outsert with those ginormous 2-inch broadhead expendable. Oh, good. I'm shooting pretty much close to, they tell me, 310 feet per second. Yeah, on Oneida with a crooked cam. What life?
We've come a long
Hey,
way.
I just told a lot of people, I don't know what I don't know, but I make every single mistake that can be made. I made it at least once.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
But then I have the bigger difference is that, unlike others, I tend not to make the same mistake twice.
Yep. Or find a
And
way to
if I
fix it.
do it, I engrave it in my heart, into my soul. I would not do that again, ever.
Very good.
All
Well,
right.
if you
Mhm.
guys have any questions for us, make sure you are getting a hold of us. If you want to go see what Dorge has going on, March 15th. Where, Dorge?
I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, in doing
All right.
NFAA.
All right. We'll go
And
check.
then, of course, I will do the tax too. So I'm
Yep.
going to call the guy from the tech and get that 2 or 3 places done. I'll see you in the tech.
Yep. Good deal. All right, guys. We'll talk to you next time.
All right. Have a good one.